So you painted the block and everything?
Yeah, we went ahead and just hit it black like we normally do. Clean the heads really good.
Dude, that looks great.
We didn't really paint that. We used that sonic cleaner. Remember I was telling you about the sonic cleaner? Every bit of this went through that except for the block.
Yeah.
Everything.
Hey, today's a good day. I had a visitor over the weekend. My good friend John Bouchard got finished with the Garbage Camaro 5.3 long block. Now, it's always good to catch up with John, but today was especially awesome because he's dropping off the long block for my Garbage Camaro. And he doesn't really like me calling it a Garbage Camaro now, especially with one of his engines in it.
And I'm going to send you a link for a valley cover.
Okay, we can come out of there, right?
Yes, sir. Okay. Get the shit out of it. It is a bit. I got you some plugs in there. They're brand newish. I just ran them on the dyno once on a test motor.
Hey,
so
save some money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you painted the block and everything?
Yeah, we went ahead and just hit it black like we normally do. Clean the heads really good.
Dude, that looks great.
We didn't really paint that. We used that sonic cleaner. Remember I was telling you about the sonic cleaner? Every bit of this went through that except for the block.
Yeah.
Everything.
Awesome.
New gaskets everywhere. That is a new crank bolt. I've just been using it.
Yep. Good. Cool, cool, cool.
They sent you some
they will.
plug wires.
100%. Yep.
There's your cam card for David. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of using it to block. Perfect. Oil pan? I was really curious about looking at that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the instructions right on top. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, I got you. Okay. They've got their own swap pan now.
Yep.
With all the stuff on it.
Yeah, so it's got filter boss.
Yeah. And if you want to run a turbo.
Ah, yeah, oil drain back.
Already got your drains. Yes,
Dual.
sir.
Look at that. I had to drill and tap mine in Z-Slip like that.
Yeah. That's, in my opinion, worth its weight in gold. They have some timing chain covers that have these big drains that come off. I've never been able to run an accessory drive with those, so it hits. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that they've got that. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not you, and the simpler that this can be for me,
right,
the better it is.
No oil pressure relief valve to get stuck. So that means all your oil is going to go through your filter.
Right, and they've got
on this pan. Yep.
Baffle there as well.
Yep. Yeah, this is set up where anybody can do it. And anyone can do it. It's not.
So that's just an anti-windage. It's not really a.
Well, you got your windage tray. That kind of keeps oil control as much as they can down in there.
Yeah.
And if you're really going to race this thing, they make baffle kits to drop down in there, I would suggest. This would be fine, buddy.
I think it'd be great. I think it'll work in
I like
all
that
the
they don't run a
stuff.
pressure relief valve.
Why?
So every bit of your oil is going to go through the filter.
Okay.
Whereas in a factory pan, it has a relief valve, and the early one's here, and the late one's here.
Yeah.
And once it gets to a certain pressure, it bleeds off and lets the oil go past it and won't run everything through your filter. So one of the early racer tricks in a small block Chevy, it had one, and they would put a plug in it.
Intake manifold. It's a good looking manifold.
Okay.
You want to take a look at it? You want to pull it out?
Yeah, if you don't care. That's kind of a pet peeve in my shop. Is when I get something in and I'm like, I just leave it alone, and everybody's like, yeah, I'll just pull it all out. Okay, not there all the time.
Yeah, well, that's what you said earlier.
No matter, yeah, whether you get a cheap harness, a factory computer, you got to go pay the tuner.
Or a nice carburetor, a good carburetor, and
everyone has to get injectors. Everyone has to have certain things. Oh, yeah. Lay it on there, right? Well, most of us run the truck stuff
to
save money. And then you got a big old hose coming out here.
But that's not going to interfere with the throttle body or anything. No. That looks good, man. Yeah, I do need a valley parent for sure. And so do you recommend the whole steam pipe kit, or?
Yeah, most of them just put block offs on the back.
Yeah.
And they'll run a steam port up to the front, just run it out. Now I would run one, and then, do you have your radiator for this guy already?
Not yet, no.
All right, so if you do an LS swap radiator, you know, they'll have a steam port fitting, or most radiators will have one. Or you can do like I did and just drill it into the body here, put you a 90 degree, you know, 5/6, it'll be an 1/8 inch NPT here, like a 90 degree 5/16, and you can just run it to it and just keep water circulating.
Yeah, there's also an intercept pipe with a port on it.
Yes.
I've had Bouchard engines in most of my builds lately, including the 6-liter LS-powered XJS Jaguar, the 780 horsepower twin-turbo LS-powered Z-Sled, or the Rocket Miata, which is a blown 5.7 LS1. I trust his stuff. And these mounts are going to go on this. This is it. This is the warmed up, refreshed 5.3 truck engine that Bouchard did for me in his shop in Portland, Tennessee. He did a ball hone, cam bearings, all the different upgrades. It's an LS acceleration camshaft. Put new pistons in it because he didn't trust the pistons that were in it. There was enough wear on the sides, I guess, that were slapping. But here it is. He also found a slightly used, but new to me, Corvette water pump, which works with the front accessory drive configuration that we need for this second gen F body. Check out the valve covers. All of the wear items, replacement parts we got are from LS Acceleration, and it put together a super nice yet affordable package with a mild but performance camshaft. This thing is going to do everything that I need it to do. I'm just really excited. So today, what we're going to do is more mock-up, because we've got a whole bunch of other stuff to do, but we're going to get this engine sitting in the car, get it down on the suspension, connected to the transmission and bell housing. What transmission? What bell housing? Okay, we're going to go take a look at that. Check this out. This is part of the AmericanPowertrain 5-speed transmission kit. This is a TKX 5-speed. I've been wanting to try one of these. I've never even driven or shifted one, but the guys that I know that have really like them. It's a single overdrive transmission instead of a double overdrive T56. I've got that in the Miata, and I used a couple of those other transmissions in different projects, and it's a great transmission. This is also a Tremec transmission, and the single overdrive gets me overdrive gears. The spacing is such that I'm going to get nice low RPM in a highway cruising speed, and it's a smaller case, so I won't have to do any transmission tunnel modifications, and it's a stronger case, and rumor has it, or I'm told, that this mid-plate right in here adds to the strength of the whole transmission. This is a package from AmericanPowertrain. You guys know I'm a paint and body guy. I'm not a mechanical guy, but this is a complete comprehensive kit with a really good instruction book and great tech support from AmericanPowertrain. They've always had that. So we've got the T56, an aluminum bell housing, because we don't need the SFI steel bell housing. We're not building a race car. We've got a steel flywheel and a clutch and pressure plate, and along with that, we have the sexy shifter handle, the Powertrain logo, and the 5-speed notation. As any good kit has, it's got all the blister packs with all of the fasteners clearly labeled, including fluids for the transmission, engine mounts, the pedal assembly that hangs from the stock configuration, the stock location for the hydraulic clutch conversion, as well as a cross-member kit that bolts in to this existing second-gen F-body and transmission mount as well. It's a high-quality urethane mount. All of this comes together and creates a really nice package that's designed for the LS engine. What you don't see here is the drive shaft. I talked about this before. The drive shaft is part of the kit. You can go to AmericanPowertrain.com and you can dial in your vehicle or whatever, check them out for sure. But the drive shaft happens once you install and measure for the drive shaft, send those measurements in, then the drive shaft will get custom made for your vehicle and then sent back to you within a short amount of time. And the great thing about that is that if you've got a long build time between the time you purchase the kit and put it in the car, the warranty clock doesn't start running until you send your drive shaft measurements in. So there's, I believe it's a 2-year warranty on everything else from that point. So your warranty doesn't burn up if it takes you a while to put your drivetrain in. So what we're going to do today is connect the engine to the bell housing and the bell housing to the transmission, get it into the car and get the weight of the suspension on it. We're not going to do all the connections. I'm not going to install the clutch or the flywheel or the pilot bearing, and all of that stuff is included here. That, when I've got time to do that, we're going to do all of that stuff. And I might enlist the help of a buddy, Chris Lee, that's done it before, or maybe somebody like Ron Ryan, who's an actual mechanic that has done that stuff before, that can give me a hand, look over my shoulder, make sure I'm doing it right. Although we do have YouTube. But what we're going to do is connect everything. I want to make sure that not only can I compress the suspension and get the rest of the ride tech stuff in, shocks, bump stops, things like that, but my transmission tunnel has got the cutout that the factory torched out. I want to make sure that the transmission, or the shifter on the transmission, pops up at the right spot before I start welding the hat, the transmission tunnel hump for the 4-speed cars in place. That will let me know exactly where to put that. Then I can yank the drivetrain or put the transmission engine combo back out of it again, get that buttoned up, coat it from the bottom side. You know, so there's the value of the mock-up. So we're going to get everything put together. A bunch of stuff is going to get done. We're going to start with putting the valley pan in the engine. So Johnny cleaned all these up, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure and clean everything just in case there's any debris or oil, especially on this top of the engine block. Yeah, this is why I'm a clean freak. Until I get the intake manifold on, I'm going to go ahead and just close up these intake ports, because knowing my luck, something will get dropped down in there, and I don't want to deal with any of that. So I'm going to cover this up nicely. And Bob is our uncle there. Now for the valley pan, John did the VVT delete on this engine, so we've changed to just a plain Jane valley pan. I got it actually from the mail order company. I got it from Summit Racing. And it comes with the gasket and the fasteners. And I cleaned it up and actually coated it with Zyclear. Actually, I can't take full credit for that. Camera guy was in here helping me, and it got cleaned up nicely, thoroughly professionally. And having this in place ensures that I'm not going to drop anything stupid down into the block. So I've just barely run those in. There is a torque spec for these bolts, and it is 18 foot-pounds. So my big torque wrench starts at 50. This is an inch-pound torque wrench, so what you do is you just multiply times 12. So inch to foot-pounds, right? 12 inches in a foot. So we multiply 18 times 12, and it gives us 260, which I've got this dialed into. We're going to use the same pattern inside to outside and get our 18 foot-pounds torque spec on all of these guys. All right, I don't think I missed anything, but I'm going to double check, because hopefully I'll never have to deal with this again. All right, done, except for that, because I'm paranoid. I'm going to make sure that I don't take any chances. All right, time for tool putting away. And I've got a link to LS Acceleration in the description, but there's their logo, and they've been great for me. They were good on a phone for tech support, and I'm excited about including them in on this build. They're local too. They're from around the Memphis area as well. So now we're going to transfer the engine mounts onto this block. Just for good because I'm going to put some blue thread locker on these engine mounts. So I'm trying to find the flat spot on an egg. So what Bouchard also did was every single threaded boss on this block has been cleaned and chased. It's just one of the things that he makes sure that he does, which makes him a pro. What we're going to do is get our engine hoist, get this thing up in the air. And just like we're mocking up the bell housing and the transmission, I've got a pan. It's not from AmericanPowertrain, it's not from Holley, it's from a company called Phytech. And they have a fuel-injected package that I'm using on this car. And I'm going to show you the low-profile LS swap oil pan. So like you guys saw when Bouchard was over here, we took a look at this, and it's got the windage baffle, pickup tube, please call us first, don't return to store if something's catastrophically wrong. All the fasteners, pan bolts, gaskets, things like that. With this pan, not only is it a rear sump, it's very low profile on the front, which is going to work well for our cross member. Like I said, just like the transmission and bell housing, I'm just going to be mocking this up just to make sure that I feel good about the fitment. We're not going to spend the time putting the pickup tube in and the baffle. All that stuff can be done later. We're just going to run a few bolts into the pan and just make sure that it fits the cross member. We're just verifying right here. So, and that's on me. I just want to make sure everything is copacetic and groovy with that, the drivetrain going in. And there's also an oil pan gasket, which is right here. But I'm not even going to take that out of the package right now. I'm just going to leave it in. We're just going to run a few bolts in, probably 4 on the corners. So first off, we got to get the engine up in the air. We can get the pan on and the bell housing, and then keep on cracking nuts like that. This adjustable engine lifter is going to help me compensate for the weight of the transmission and bell housing on the back of this thing and still get control while we're stabbing it in. So bolt this into cylinder head bosses. did that do for us? That's pretty even. So like I said, this pan comes from Tech, and they've got a bunch of different options, an insane amount of fuel injection options, from throttle bodies all the way to full EFI manifolds. In the description, you're going to find, while we're installing all of this stuff, I'll give you all the information I have from Tech, from American Powertrain, about what it is that we're doing and how we're doing it. Plan B. There's no way I can do this because I'm left-legged and one-handed. So I'm gonna get my floor jack, and I'm gonna actually be smarter than I am. And I'm gonna lift the oil pan up to the block with the jack and stabilize it. Because it's just, I don't know, call it me, but I'm just nervous about 600 pounds over top of my head. So anyway, there we go. More tools. All right, so I feel a little bit better about that. Now we'll gently walk this sucker over to where the other pile of parts is. One of the reasons I'm not ready to commit to actually doing the centering due diligence on the bell housing is because I don't have any misalignment dowels, and just in case it's off, I want the misalignment dowels where we can properly center this opening to the crank input. If we don't, if we just take a chance, and a lot of people have gotten away with it for a long time, you could have run out in your rotating assembly in your clutch, which could damage the gears of the input shaft, and quite frankly, if you don't do it, it could void your warranty, because if you have a failure, they test it. Anyway, it's just a good idea. It's just a good idea to do all that stuff. We're not doing that yet. By the way, with the American Powertrain kit comes a input shaft bearing, pinion bearing, yeah. Oh man, brain farting, yeah. This bearing, I can point to it. Okay, hang on. This bearing that gets driven in there, it's here. So, input shaft bearing, yeah, okay. Sue me, I'm not a mechanic. So what we have, these are where the alignment dowels go. We know that is the starter relief. And that fits on there pretty nice. I wish I had had my fasteners for the bell housing handy. But I wanted to show you these. I wanted to show off. The last LS engine that we put together was for the Miata. It's a T56. So those are just proper thread bolts with the heads cut off. And it makes really nice alignment dowels. If you have to have the assembly on and off several times, that's just a nice way to be able to do that and get it lined up pretty dang good, but it's also going to allow me to let that sit there and it's not going to fall off. Found them, labeled bell to block. That's pretty clear to me. I am going to put all of them in because we are going to hang the transmission on the mounts here, and I don't want to take any chances. Another reason I wanted to install the oil pan, before we did this mock-up was because the bell housing anchors to the oil pan itself. It's going to give us a little more stability. And that takes care of that. So now we have to get that heavy thing onto this heavy thing. Before we do that, I remember reading in the instructions that they want you to verify that everything is working and rotating by shifting it into every gear and making sure the input shaft spins. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to say everything's good. There's no crunching or grinding or anything like that. We checked and we verified. It's good. So this right here is going to be interesting. So I'm going to ease this down onto the soft pad. Yeah. Gently like that, and upright like that. These are not ridiculously heavy. They're about 100 pounds. All right, that guy's going to hold that from falling. And we're going to try all right, so that helped. Okay, so the jack is going to lift it up. That's all I need is a mating surface there. Clock it a little bit. Okay, this is working. All right. There we are. All right, so I'm going to thread some bolts in real quick before I lose my thing. We're just going to go right here. Will that one go in there? Yes, it will. Second verse, same as the first on the other side. I'm sure somewhere in the instructions there's a clear note on why we need a cat screw in one of these holes. Maybe you guys that have done one of these before can school me on it in the comments section. But for now, I'm not going to worry too much about where it goes because it's all coming apart again anyway. And that's what all of that sexiness is going to look like. So before I stab that assembly in there, I'm going to protect my pretty paint. And also, I'm glad I looked. I'm going to remember to pull these cross bolts out for the clamshells. Because that would interfere with how they fit. So what I don't want to do is tear a bunch of stuff up. But I think I've got enough control over the way this can tilt to properly align it without doing my worst. Like a 600-pound pendulum. All right, so I've just got it down enough to stabilize it. Now I'm going to get my crank, tilt it up a little bit. There we go. So we're just going to go a piece at a time. I need to come up just a hair. Forward just a smidge. Clean floor is my friend right now. Where are we? I'm off to the side. Okay. I'll just set that gently on the floor. I'm just going to do it. That's going to make it a lot easier, isn't it? What fresh hell awaits now?
Houston, we have a problem.
Okay. Yeah. Engine hoist interference in the form of a car. Suspension parts. All right. So it's a delicate dance of clearance and angle. Now I've got to clear the bell housing to the clamshells, which we've got that, and I'm looking pretty good in the tunnel. I'd like a little more angle, please. What I'd like is for the socket to fit over this nut, but I'm not going to get that. All right, so we're cleared on the bell housing. So now I can come down a taste. Like about that much. And go a little farther under. Pardon me while I take a moment to protect my firewall. All right, so I've just got a piece of cardboard in there. That's the angle that wants to dig into my beautiful, fresh painted firewall. So now that we're there, I can start to kick the transmission back up again and get it farther back. Okay. And that piece had a hand crank on it at one point. That's the last time I'm doing that. All right, so I hated to, but I had to cut those 90s off the back. So now we're going to try. Just go a little farther in. I think that might be all that we need. I just need to buy enough clearance to get around those clamshells. I'll just set that gently on the floor. Okay, there we go. There. That's all we need to do is come down to there. We're getting there fast, folks. Yeah, relatively speaking. That's getting us to the happy home. Right here, look here. We're almost seated at the table. but it's still kicked back. It's still kicked up too much at the front. It's not a hammer. Ow. Home you are. Now this needs to come down. All right. It's a little snug, but it's all the way through. And that's going to hold that in place where it needs to be. Good. No painted firewalls were injured during the segment of this engine installation. Okay, so that's settled quite a bit. We might actually be able to get those bump stops in there. Might have to do some creative jacking, but hey, engine in place. Now here's the interesting thing. Camera guy can look in this side. I'm going to talk to you from the other side. And this is why I like to mock up on the next second gen F bodies that I do with this engine transmission combination. Now I'll know. But look where the shifter stub is. It's centered in the tunnel, but as you can see reformer, it's too much far forward in the tunnel. Well, that's not a huge deal. Just like the T56 transmissions, the Tremec TKX, you can invert the shifter 180 degrees and it still functions. It still finds the locating ball. So that's why I like to mock up, because we're going to yank this all apart and I'm going to invert this so my shifter stub is going to be right here. And I'll probably trim in and around here a lot, but now I know that this guy goes back, well, you can see where the factory spot welds were. This guy goes back right here. And I'll put a level on there, make sure it's level and stuff like that. And my shifter stub is going to be right almost dead center, right there. So I might trim just a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get a marker. And as much as I love the GM assembly line handiwork, we're going to tighten it up just a hair. We're going to just trim this out just because, and I'm just going to make that into a nice straight edge there. I'll probably come down here. And I'll just flatten that out, you know. This, I'm not going to worry about that too much. I might grind it flush. And that way it gives us some niceness. Well, I just screwed that up. Anyway, that will allow me to dress the holes. You know, and I might, since I've got bed liner and stuff under there, what I might do is just punch into this, create some new holes, and just do rosette welds around there. And not worry about those guys. I might toast the bed liner on the backside a little bit, but you know what? That's okay. The other thing is this. The engine is tilted back too much, and that's because the shifter stub is not allowing this transmission to come up where it needs to. So by inverting this 180 degrees, that's also going to give us a clearance to get the engine leveled out, because when you look underneath the car, you know that the transmission case is sticking down way too much. Well, maybe not way too much, but yeah, too much. So with the weight of everything, suspension compressed enough for us to get the bump stops on and the shocks in, and I'm really glad to have that because it shows me kind of a little bit of a glimpse into the ride height, right? Here's the other thing that I'm going to do. I wasn't happy with this handle that swings around. The truth is, This was probably supposed to be on the other side, and it was a crank handle, if I remember correctly. But I trimmed this off, and we're going to operate from this end. That thing swinging around was hitting the chains and all that stuff, so I just modified it. I also trimmed these ends off here. Hold on. Oh, wrong way. Well, you can see them. I trimmed these ends off here, which may bite me in the butt later on, but for this car, which is the one I'm working on now, it's going to help me not scratch up my fancy firewall. So I'm taking this engine hoist off because I'm going to celebrate the win. And there's one more glimpse that I want to have, and I want to show you. And that is this Phytech intake manifold. And this is part of the Rebel LS 500 complete kit. Did I mention I'm a fan of kits? It's everything I need: throttle body, electronics, injectors, rails, controller, and like we said before, the oil pan is Phytech as well. And I had no idea they had hard parts like that. So this is pretty exciting because this is what's going to motivate this thing. It looks great. It's not fragile like the phenolic plastic ones that came from the factory. It's not expensive like the plastic aftermarket ones when you consider the whole package. John Bouchard said it famously. He said, for a good carbon intake and all the stuff that it's going to take, you're going to spend about $2,000. For a good electronic fuel injection system, you're going to spend about $2,000. So I chose EFI because I'm just used to it, and it works extremely well. And this looks great, and I'm pretty stoked. One other little modification we're going to do here, and give me just a second. And this is an homage to my buddy John Bouchard. We're going to put our emblem right here. And there it is, John Bouchard High Performance Engines. When you know, you know. So that'll be kind of a cool, subtle reminder. And one of my ways to say, thank you, John. That is as far as we're going today. So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. It's really cool to see the numbers going up. And thanks for acknowledging that we're kind of bouncing all over the place. But I don't know. I'm excited about what's going on here. And we've got some big changes coming with the Paintucation website. We've got new merchandise coming. If you guys are interested in hats, we've got some new stickers. I've got some other ideas too. I've got some friends that are really, really smart and innovative when it comes to body shop tools, and I want to make those tools that make my work and my life easier available to you guys. So we're working on a lot of stuff with the website, and I feel like I've found a home here with YouTube, and I just want to say thanks for making us feel like that. So for me and Camera Guy, we want to say thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you next week.